Good morning, everyone. Moss here with a look at how to win with Ironjawz. This is July 2023, looking at the new General's Handbook. Thanks to everybody who contributed all the different art. I greatly appreciate it. Looks great. All right, so let's look first at the overall strategy of the army. So Ironjawz are an Alpha Strike army, which means that we're going to attack as fast as possible, pin the enemy back in their deployment zone as best as we can. We're going to outgrind and outfight the opponent and win a war of attrition over the first few turns. We're going to call our WA early, and using our WA, we're going to trade efficiently, and we're going to hopefully snowball this into victory within the first few rounds. So we're not really trying to go turn 5. We're trying to end the game. Like at the end of turn 1, we want our opponent to look at the position of the board and say, uh-oh. And yeah. So let's look at the battle traits. Let's look at what Ironjawz actually does briefly. So the Ironjawz WA is the best WA in the book. It's the best WA in the book. At the start of the charge phase, your general has to be alive. There's no auras, right? Your general just has to be alive. As opposed to the Cruel Boys WA, right, where everything has to be within 18 inches of the general. You just get an army-wide, +1 to charge, and +1 rend. That's it. At the start of the charge phase, you're like, WA, +1 charge, +1 rend. Simple, straightforward, strong. Another great rule that they have is called Mighty Destroyers. It's a hero phase move, is essentially what it is, as a command trait. So Mega Bosses can double it, and Mega Bosses on Maw Crushers can triple it. But in the hero phase, you get to move, charge, or pile in, depending on which one you are eligible to do. So if you're within 12 of an enemy, you have to charge. If you're within 3 of an enemy, you have to pile in. And if you're outside, you could just move. So you can't move if you're 11.9 inches away. You have to charge. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. It's a very strong ability. It's a very, very strong ability. It makes the army incredibly mobile, right? Gore Grunters can move 18 inches. And then have a WA +1 charge. Like, it's just great. Great rule. And last but not least, we have Smashin' and Bashin'. If a unit is chosen to fight and kills another enemy unit, you can pick another unit to fight again. So you get to chain these different different activations in a row, which kind of is like what the Cruel Boys WA does, right? Like chaining 3 in a row, but this army can just do it whenever they want. Right, whenever they want, they can just hopefully get these chain activations off. So when you're planning your combat, you're going to plan it differently with Ironjawz than you are with any other army in the Orc book anyway, where it's like, oh, okay, so there's only 2 wounds left on this unit. I'll activate here first to kill that unit. Oh, and then they're fighting a little wizard or whatever, and they should be able to kill him. Okay, good. I'll fight here as well. So you need to plan your combat phases accordingly. And when you combine this with +1 rend from WA, it can feel very, very strong. So why aren't we seeing a lot of play right now? Why aren't a lot of people playing Ironjawz, particularly in the previous GHB? Well, there's lots of good shooting armies. Lumineth Realm Lords, Chaos Overlords, and we can be kind of weak to Unleash Hell. If you can get a really strong Unleash Hell against like a unit of pigs, like 3 pigs, 6 pigs, you can kind of take them out before they get a chance to fight back. So that kind of sucks. We do have Galatian champions, but ones that want to get into the mix is really only the Mega Boss. And in the previous season, I was going to talk about this a little bit, but I think I was surprised that Mega Boss and Brutes didn't really abuse the strike at the opening, lead by example command or heroic action combo. I thought that like a reinforced unit of Brutes with a Mega Boss on foot would be an excellent use of that rule, but I didn't really encounter it almost at all. So maybe you guys feel differently. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you saw like yourself or other players playing. Also, the no retreat, no surrender ability would also be good with like Brutes and a Mega Boss, I thought. But I don't know, like I guess it wasn't that strong. I guess it just, like that rule I feel was totally ignored last season, but I don't know, we'll see. And then there's other armies that are doing what Ironjawz are doing, but they're doing it better. So it's like, hey, you want like a high rend, high mobile army that's going to pin your opponent back, and they're, okay, we'll play Beasts of Chaos. Right? Beasts of Chaos are going to do what Ironjawz are trying to do, but it feels like maybe this season we'll mix things up, and with like the previous FAQs or whatever, we'll change it up a little bit, but it's like, oh, they were just doing it better than Ironjawz was. And same thing with Gloomspite gets, right? It's like high mobility, you know, like really, really slappy, quick units. It's like, well, Gloomspite gets is doing that really well as well. So if that's what you're looking for, and you're like a serious competitive player, chances are you're going to invest in those armies and not in Ironjawz. And then we end up with the feedback loop, right? It's like only casual players are bringing Ironjawz, which means Ironjawz are losing more because all the hardcore competitive players are bringing these other armies, and so those armies are winning more. So, yeah. And the Mega Boss on Makrisha was feeling a little bit weak with power creep, considering some of the other monsters that were in the meta. This I don't know. This army is starting to show its age a little bit, but with the recent point reductions, I think it's back in. So just a quick review now of some of the realm rules. So of course we have the Antorian Locusts, wizards with less than 10 wounds who are not unique. So for us, that would be Weird Knob Shamans. That's the only one in our army. But we could also ally in Fungoid Cave Shamans, Madcap Shamans, and Web Spinner Shamans. Second rule, optimal focus. At the start of the round, pick a Antorian Locust to get +1 spellcast, or a different hero to get a command point. For us, I think we're probably going to mostly go with the command point. The fact that we get to triple them or double them is cool. So we're never going to be hungry for command points generally in Ironjawz compared to other orc armies. So, I mean, with the second spell, you could work it around in such a way that you were doing things like teleport plus Blizzard or teleport plus Hoarfrost, right? So, like, there's some room there for some play. Nullstone Adornments. Some of these might be worth taking over Weird Knob Shamans, to be totally fair. And we'll see that in the lists later on. More realm rules. So Primal Magic at the start of every hero phase. Each player rolls a 4-up, and both players get a Primal die that disappears at the end of the round, not the end of the turn. So that's pretty cool. You can roll the Primal dice and add them to your casting value total. So that's pretty neat as well, right? So for us, it's going to primarily be, like I said, either Hand of Gork or Hoarfrost. We're not a heavy magic army, so you could throw these dice just for unbinds, but you're only going to get one unbind, right? So usually you're only going to get one unbind, maybe two. So it's something to think about, right? Like when you're deploying your wizard, like how are you out of unbind range? How important is it that you get this spell off? How is it more important that you get your own spell off, or is it better for you to try to unbind the one spell from your opponent that's really giving you trouble? So there's some choices there. Yep, and then Primal Miscast and Auto Success. I mean, we're starting to get pretty familiar with this season at this point. So Nullstone Adornments, these are the counter magic enhancements for this season. If you don't want to run a Weird Knob Shaman, you can run some of these instead. I think the Pouch of Null Dust is great. I think it's great. I think that if you're going to consider a Nullstone Adornment, you should probably consider this. So the new spells, how do they look with how do they look compared to our book spells? So again, with Ironjawz, Hoarfrosting Gore-Gruntas, giving Tusks and Hooves -3 rend, or even -2 rend, or even -1 rend is awesome. It's great. It significantly improves the damage output of this army. So Hoarfrost is a great spell for us. I'm a big fan. It's also good, surprisingly, on like war chanters and mega bosses. Like there's quite a few units in our army that we can really take advantage of this of this spell, right? So like a war chanter, for example, has 6 attacks with a 3-up, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, and then D3 damage. So suddenly 6 attacks with 3 to hit, 3 to wound, and 2 rend with D3 damage. Suddenly that's way scarier. So like again, Hoarfrost is going to be a good spell in our army. And with the Mega Boss, you have 8 dice, right? He already has 1 rend, but it's only 1 rend, right? So it's a lot of dice coming from one attack profile. So if you're like, oh, okay, like, like I don't have any, it's like later in the game and I don't really have any good Hoarfrost targets, or lots of my Hoarfrost targets are out of range. It's like, well, shit, I'll just hit this War Chanter. I'll hit this War Chanter and send in this War Chanter to fight. Like, seems good to me. The Mega Boss on Makrusha, same kind of thing. It's like the boss Choppa and Rip Two Fist only has one rend. It has 7 dice, but only one rend. So, there's a pretty decent chance that you're going to be able to improve that rend characteristic. And if you roll the 1, it's like, okay, well, my to wound is 1 now. Like, okay, like that's not the best thing in the world, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. You're going to get your all-out attacks, and now you're hitting on 2s and 2s with, 1 rend, 2 damage or more. Seems pretty good. Seems pretty good for a destroyer turn as well. If you can buff that rend up to 2 or 3, and the damage characteristic is 5. With your all-out attack and maybe even your triumph, it's like your 2s and 2s with 3 rend and 5 damage. Like, get out of here. Whatever you touch is dead. Rupture, so we'll see what that looks like. There's been lots of questions about the spell Rupture and what it's going to look like in the meta. If the whole meta now is just going to be everyone plays an incarnate, you cast Rupture on your own incarnate and laugh at your opponent. So we'll see what that looks like. Merciless Blizzard, I call it the oof spell. It's like I don't like this spell. I don't think it's good for the game. Still, I think that it's like, oh, if I get this spell off, I can just like delete whatever unit I want off the board. You can teleport into it. So it's like, what's your opponent supposed to do? I guess save their primal dice. I guess that's the idea. If you misplay your primal dice, you can get blizzarded. So, moving on. So we have the Great Green Hand of Gork. That is easily our best spell. Teleport, mobility, right? Movement, positioning, all that stuff is amazing. You can teleport a unit of Gorgruntas at 12.1 inches away in a nice straight line, all 6 of them, if you had them reinforced. Mighty Destroyer's move. Now you're at a 3.1 inch charge. Like, it's awesome. You can take a unit of Ardboys or Brutes or whatever and teleport them onto an objective somewhere off in the map. Because a lot of the army that's on foot is quite slow. Great spell. Foot of Gork will likely need primal dice, but is not a terrible spell. But a better spell, I feel, is Bash 'em Lads. It's pretty good overall. It needs some work to make it super good. But there's a list that I'll show you at the end where you take full advantage of this. And Mighty Edbutt is bad, don't play it. Okay, what's next? So command traits. So what command traits are we going to pick? So we sort of know what our general philosophy is with this army, right? We're an Alpha Strike army. We're going to try to punch early, punch super hard, get rid of everything from our opponent off the board, and just, sort of snowball that into a victory. So there's 2 real command or 2 real generals that you can consider in this army. The first one being like a Mega Boss on Makrusha, or like a Mega Boss, I guess, but Mega Boss on Makrusha. And the second one being the Weird Knob Shaman. So the command traits for the Mega Boss on Makrusha that you might consider taking is Mighty Wa Leader. When you call your Wa, units wholly within 12 can reroll their charges. So that's great. It means that when you Mighty Destroyer move the Mega Boss forward and probably 2 units of Reinforced Pigs, right? So they're all going to make that extra move forward, and then when they're within 12, they get to re-roll their charges. So what that usually looks like is, because the Mega Boss on the Makrusha can move a little bit faster, right? At his top, he moves 12, where the pigs only move 9. You can sort of move the Mega Boss forward, the pigs sort of come in behind. The Mega Boss can charge off to the side, and then the pigs get to re-roll their stuff, right? It looks great. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I don't think they have to be wholly within 12 when you make the charge roll. I think it's for the rest of the round. Units wholly within 12 get to re-roll their charge rolls. Or maybe they have to actually be wholly within 12 when they roll their charge. Anyway, regardless, you'll figure that out, I'm sure. Yeah, Mega Boss of Makrusha. If he's not the general, he is a totem, which means he still has that 18-inch command range. So if he's not your general, you're not going to miss out on the on tripling your command your command points. So you don't have to worry about that. So the Weird Knob Shaman, so Master of Magic. This helps make your teleport spell more consistent. This can help position Gorgruntas into a good charge position, or can place some Ardboys onto an objective. You can't use Primal Dice with Master of Magic, but I don't that's a great rule. I'm glad it exists, but there's no reason that you can't just use Mighty or use Master of Magic and then not use Primal Dice with it. You're getting a reroll. So on turn 1, if you're outside of Unbind range, you can use your Master of Magic to save your dice. You can teleport a unit, move into Unbind range, use your Primal Dice for Unbinds. You can use Heroic Willpower and use your Primal Dice for Unbinds. So it's not like it's one or the other. You can use both. You can have your Master of Magic rerolls, and then still use your Primal Dice for other stuff. You could also roll like 1 under. You could, if you needed a 7 and you rolled a 4 and a 4 and a 3 and a 3, you could throw 1 Primal Die at it instead of re-rolling. So another good one might be Touched by the Wa. So this adds D3 to the caster before Primal Dice. So that seems okay. Just remembering that every Primal Die that you add means that any plus to cast is less and less statistically significant. If you're getting +1 to cast on 2d6, it's very different than if you're getting +1 to cast on 4d6. That +1 isn't really going to add a whole lot, right? The +1 add is way more efficient if you're re-rolling your casting rolls. So I don't think it's as strong, but still worth considering, right? I might be wrong. Shaman of the Chilled Land. So all 3 of these spells can be very good for this army. So if you go second and you get +1 casts, you could teleport into a Blizzard, or you could teleport on Hoarfrost. So there's some room here for play, but it's kind of dangerous to teleport into a Blizzard if the Weird Knob Shaman is your general. If he's not your general, right? Turn 1, you might teleport some pigs, and then turn 2, maybe your little Weird Knob is, if you're going second, maybe you're teleporting into the back line and Blizzarding something with all your Primal Dice. So I don't see why you couldn't Master of Magic teleport yourself and then throw all your Primal Dice at a Blizzard. Why not? That sounds pretty good to me, right? Subfactions. So Bloodtooths are the subfaction of choice. They have been for a really long time. It does a couple things. It makes your Gore-Gruntas battle line, so you can just spam a ton of Gore-Gruntas because they're a great unit. Gore-Gruntas that fought at the end of the combat phase, if they fought, they can do a move. They can either do a move, a pile-in, a normal move, or a charge. So more moves equals more wins. If you pile, or if it's a pile-in move that you're making, you can probably get even more pigs in. You can move a little bit close. Maybe on your next activation, next turn, you can attack a squishier unit in the back line. If you deleted a unit, right, if all your Gore-Gruntas move forward and you called your Wa and you had all your buffs and you killed a bunch of units, all those Gore-Gruntas that fought and killed units get to move again or charge again, right? You can really grab your opponent with this army and make it difficult for them to go anywhere and do anything. It's great. Love the art here, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Artifacts of Power. So your Mega Boss can take Destroyer. This is +3 damage once per game, so it makes that attack profile quite strong. So you're going to delete whatever it is that you touched here. This is really the only artifact to take. In the Ironjawz books, only a Mega Boss can take an Artifact of Power. There's not really any universal artifacts that we really want to take, so Destroyer is what I see in pretty much every list. But it's great, right? Adding 3 damage, it's awesome. Mount traits. The Mega Boss on Maw Crush is going to be the only real one that you're going to take a mount trait on. So, oops, I have a typo there. So Fasten is the default. Being able to move an extra 12 inches in the hero phase is really cool. It's good for setting up Mighty Wall Leader. It's good to position the Mega Boss on Maw Crush in a position where you're going to be able to hit the side, the target that you want. Weirden might be very good this season as well, having a 4-up ward against mortal wounds caused by spells. Mega Boss on Maw Crush, his weakness is shooting in magic, right? When he gets in melee with that Destroyer on your turn, on the Wa turn, you're going to just chew through whatever it is in front of you, so protecting him can be very good. So consider Weirden as well. Oh, yeah. Core battalions, I think this army is really a one drop or bust. You can probably go into two drops, but you don't want to be doing more than that. You want to control who's going to go first. Either you're going to let your opponent go first because you don't think they're going to be able to do much, and then you're going to alpha strike them, or you're just going to go first and you're going to alpha strike them. It depends on the army matchup. It depends on how they deployed, right? So maybe going first isn't the best thing, but you're going to want to be able to control that. The new battalion, the Andorian Acolytes, I can't imagine that we're going to want to lean into wizards with this army, considering we don't really have any wizards that are super strong. You know, like we have some good magic, so including a wizard to get off some spells is good. We might include a wizard, but probably not two. The Wizard Finder of Andor, however, +1 attack characteristic against wizards for units in the battalion. So, you know, Brutes, Dachappas, Jagged or Hakkas. This might work if there's a wizard in the meta that you're having trouble killing, but is adding a few extra attacks worth having 2 more drops? Probably not. Right? I don't want to say that the Acolytes Battalion is bad, because, you know, lots of games still yet to play, long season ahead of us, but I can't imagine that I would start by testing out this this battalion. It would be like a your local meta, your local store, the player that's giving you a hard time kind of battalion, I think. The Wizard Finders. Grand strategies. So Wa is our best one. If the Mega Boss of Maw Crusher is your general, it's pretty easy to put him on the other side of the table. If the Weird Knob Shaman is your general, it's pretty easy at the end of the game to teleport him onto the other side of the table. So I don't really think that there's much to say here. If you're taking Blood 2, friendly battle line units are pigs, and there's a lot of pigs. So all you have to do is run a single pig onto the other side of the table, right, wholly within enemy territory. So pretty easy to get. The rest of them are not great. You know, the rest of them are not really are like, you can see I have a tier list up on the screen here for those of you that are watching. If I had to pick one, I would, from the new one, I would probably pick Overshadow, but there's, you know, it's just Wa. It's just Wa all day, every day. Battle tactics. So the new Ironjawz battle tactic is obviously really good. That's going to be an S tier one. That's our turf now. That one is very easy for us to get. All you have to do is throw yourself into the middle of the map, which is what you're going to do anyway, either with the front line or the units that are, you know, ready for the next round of charges or what have you. So that's pretty easy to get. Time to get stuck in is another really easy battle tactic to get. Your army is going to be alpha striking, so for you to say at the end of the turn that all of your units are going to be within 12 of an enemy unit, or wholly within, I can't remember which one it is, but still, it's like you're going to hopefully be base to base with almost everything. So it's not S tier because a lot of armies have some slow dudes running around in the back. So, but and you can only activate it on your first or your second turn. So that's not always, you know, super achievable. Squish de puny gets. That's another really good battle tactic. Pretty easy to get. Sorry, just one sec. So it's just for squish to puny gets, you want to just keep it in mind. You know, when you feel like you're going to be able to kill all their battle line units, that's the turn to pick it. It might be a good pick for the Wa turn. Chances are your opponent, if your opponent is worth their salt, they've thrown their battle line units as screens in front of them. So there's a good chance that on your Wa turn, you'll be coming in and chewing up all the screens and getting rid of all the battle line units. So it's worth thinking about on that turn. Intimidate the invaders. So this is, I have this written here as an S tier battle tactic. So this is one of the new ones. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are more friendly units wholly outside your territory than there are friendly units within your territory. So again, as an Alpha Strike army, you're pushing your army forward. You're getting them outside of your territory. So pretty relatively easy to get for sure. Reprisal. I put that as A tier. You complete this battle tactic if an enemy unit that destroyed a friendly general is destroyed this turn. So just keep an eye out, right? Watch your opponent's battle line and watch to see if anyone kills your general. You don't really want this. This should probably actually be a B tier. Reprisal should probably be a B tier. Endless Expropriation. So this is just killing the wizard that has the endless spell or the incarnate, right? So again, B tier. Keep your eye out for those wizards. Try to get them. Magical Dominance, that's a pretty easy turn 1 battle tactic. All you have to do is deploy outside of their Unbind range, and with your Master of Magic, cast Mystic Shield. Done. You could also go for the Teleport with your Master of Magic or with your Primal Dice, and that is also pretty easy. We don't have a lot of spells, right? So if you're going first and all you're going to do is teleport a unit somewhere on the map, either to charge in or grab an objective, the chances that you're going to be unbound is very low, especially if you have Primal Dice, so that's a pretty good way to do it if you're going turn 1. You know, Magic Dominance turn 1, and then move your opponent or move your wizard forward to unbind on your opponent's turn. That seems pretty strong to me. Right after that, you're looking at, you know, time to get stuck in, or that's our turf now, or intimidate the invaders. Like, the battle tactics for Ironjawz this season are actually going to be pretty good, I feel, especially because they added that new one in, which is going to be really easy for us to get. Yeah, it's great. Magical Mayhem, rated at B tier. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed by damage inflicted by a spell or the ability of an endless spell. I think this is only good if you took Blizzard. If you took Blizzard, you can get a unit out of there. This might be good late game. You can teleport your Weird Knob Shaman to the other side of the board, cast a Blizzard if that's like your setup, right? Like, you know, if you're going second and you can get that extra spell, you can do it that way. And it's a pretty easy way just to blow something up, right? Something has 1 wound left if you can get that Blizzard off. So it can be okay. Bait and Trap, you complete this battle tactic if 2 or more friendly units retreated this turn and 2 or more friendly units made a charge move. This one is actually doable on Ironjawz, right? Because you can have, you know, your front unit of pigs that go in, they deal a bunch of damage, and then maybe they retreat back and get some rallies off, perhaps, as another line of pigs goes in. It's great. Led into the Maelstrom. I have this as an A tier. So this is your general and a unit of pigs, probably charging in, and you know, if you're charging into a clump, you can end within 3 of an enemy unit, right? At least one of them does. So don't smash and bash too hard. And Surround and Destroy. Pigs are quick. I have rated this one as B tier. You can get units around on the flanks relatively easily, right? So. And you can keep something in the back line on your side. This might even be a pretty decent turn 1 or turn 2 battle tactic, but B tier. Lots of good battle tactics to choose from this season, so pretty happy about that. So some key units. Mega Boss on Maw-Crusher. Crutcha, super good. Man, I can't type, apparently. Weird Knob Shaman, very good. War Chanters are maybe the most important part of our army, perhaps. Gore Grunt is Ard Boys. I should have included Brutes on this list as well with their point reductions. You'll see in the list section. So there's 3 different lists that I've compiled. The first one I think is a pretty standard list for Ironjawz. So we're in the Bloodtooth subfaction. Our grand strategy is Wa. Our Triumph is Inspired. All the pretty normal stuff. My general here is a Weird Knob Shaman. The command trait is either Master Magic or Shaman of the Chilled Lands. I personally tend to go with Master Magic, but, you know, we'll see what your local meta's like. Your spell is going to be Degrade Green Hand of Gork or Hoarfrost. Depends on which you value more. Hoarfrost is going to be buffing up your unit of pigs so they can smash even harder. You could also go with the Blizzard here as well. This is where the Shaman of the Chilled Lands comes in handy, right? Because it's like, well, if you take Shaman of the Chilled Lands, you can still teleport. You can still take your spell. You just know all these other spells. So you can, if you're going second and you want to get that extra cast, you can do a teleport and a Hoarfrost or a teleport and a Blizzard. But if you're going first and you only get 1 spell, you get this option. It's like, which is better this turn? Is it better for me to Hoarfrost a unit that's about to go in, or is it better for me to teleport something? Right? So it gives you that flexibility. So it kind of depends. I'm not sure which one I prefer yet. Haven't played enough games, but we shall see. Mega Boss on Maw-Crusher with Destroyer, and then Weirden or Fasten. These 2 mount traits are both good, both strong. Again, customized for your local meta. We have the Auric War Chanter, but I think that there's an argument to be made where all of them run Get 'em Beat. You can't use Get 'em Beat more than once, but if all 3 are running Get 'em Beat, you can get them where you need to get them, right? You're going to get that extra 3, that 3d6 charge. So you can decide to yourself like what unit needs it, and then whatever unit needs it, you're probably going to be able to give it to them. If only one of your war chanters has get them beat, well, hopefully that's where you want the charge, right? So there's something to be said about this, about them all having the same beat. And then our units are Gore Gruntus, Gore Gruntus, Gore Gruntus, Gore Gruntus. Lots and lots of Gore Gruntus. 2 units of 6 to go up the middle, right, in hard with the Mega Boss. And then 2 units of 3 to support, grab objectives, take the flanks, whatever you need. And then 5 Ardboys sitting in the back line, trying to zone out shenanigans like teleports, trying to keep your weird knob shaman alive, right? Stuff like that. And it's a 2-drop list. With a lot of points to spare. You could think about an endless spell, but I did not for this list. So, yeah. But this is, I would say, a pretty standard Bloodtooth's list. We've seen lists like this a lot, right? 2 drops, it's great. More interestingly is a counter magic spell. So, very similar, Bloodtooth's Wa inspired. Our general here is going to be a Mega Boss on Maw Crusher with Mighty Wa Leader for those reroll charges, and Destroyer and Weirden. So this general is getting in. You could also take Fast in here, just like before. The War Chanters, again, so here we should probably both be in Get 'em Beat for the same reason, and one of our War Chanters is going to take the Nullstone Adornment of Pouch of Null Dust. So Pouch of Null Dust. Once per battle, at the start of the hero phase, you can say that the bearer will use their Pouch of Null Dust. If you do so until the end of that phase, unmodified casting rolls that include double 1s, double 2s, and double 3s are treated as miscasts if a primal die was rolled as part of the casting roll as a primal miscast. In addition, roll a die for each endless spell on the battlefield. For each 5-up, that endless spell is dispelled. So, you know, that's a lot of words, but what it actually means is that this turn, your opponent is not going to use their primal dice. Your opponent using primal dice this turn is very dangerous for them. If you're rolling 2 dice, the chances that one of them is a 1, a 2, or a 3 is very, very high. And then, if you're rolling a primal die, if one of the dice is a 1, 2, or 3, there's a 50% chance that you're going to have a primal miscast. If you roll a 2 and a 3, right, there's an even greater chance that you're going to have a primal miscast. So, effectively, what this is going to do is shut off primal dice for your opponent that turn. Using their primal dice suddenly is going to be very risky and very dangerous. So, it's a counter magic play. And the reason that we can take this is because we're not running a shaman. We're on foot. We're going in on foot. So we got our 2 War Chanters with Get 'em Beat, 3 units of 6 pigs, a unit of 10 Ardboys, and a unit of 5 Ardboys. Now, there's a variation in this list. You can't have more than 5 units here because we are 1-drop. We're 1-drop. We're going in, right? It's designed to be a 1-drop list. But what you can do with these extra points is you can actually make this 10 times brutes for 280 points. And yeah, like that's it. Right, that's it. You have 100, so we have 50 points left. And then if we add 160 points and we add 80 points, 160 points and 80 points, it leaves us with 290 points. So that's what this becomes. I think that, and I mean, you could do 2-5 of brutes, but I think that just a block of 10 brutes is probably the way to go. It's just scary. You could keep it 5. It's kind of up to you, but these last few points here you can use to shuffle around. You could also do like 1 unit of brutes and 1 unit of Ardboys, right? There is some flexibility here. So again, local meta, right? Do you want more cheap screen or more cheaper screens, right? To slow down the opponent, but that's absolutely fantastic. And then finally, a list that was brought to my attention from a user in the AOS Coach Discord, Dino, Prophet of the Alopex, is Iron Suns. So here we're not Bloodtooth. This is a mistake. This should be Iron Sons as a sub-faction. We still have Wa. We still have our Triumph is all the same. But if you look here, we have a Mega Boss as our general with Mega Bossy as a command trait. So what Mega Bossy does is it lets you issue Mighty Destroyers even if it's already been issued by another unit. So we have 2 Mega Bosses on foot. So both of them can issue Mighty Destroyers. So that means 4 units can move in the hero phase, right? 4 units can move. Then we have our 3 War Chanters, all with Get 'em Beat. So again, we can get them where we need to get them. And then we have Auroch, Weird Knob, Shaman with Lore of the Weird, Basham Lads. This is what Basham Lads does. Casting value of 8. If successfully cast until your next hero phase. So this is probably for 2 hero phases, unless you get double turned. You can add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by friendly Ironjawz units that are wholly within 16 inches of the caster. So this Weird Knob Shaman wants to get into the fight, wants to cast this spell, and wants to give +1 to wound to multiple units of brutes. Multiple units of brutes are going to get +1 to wound. Then you're going to give multiple units with the Mega Boss all-out attack. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Can't wait. And then, yeah, so what Iron Sons actually does as a sub-faction, because, like, I didn't really know, right? Like, I never play it. So what Iron Sons does, when you use the Violent Fury ability on a friendly Dachappas of a friendly... no, that's Iron Sons. Am I all mixed up on this? No, I'm sorry. I'm totally mistaken. It's not Iron Sons. It's Dachappas. Why did I think it was Iron Sons? Sorry. So, ignore me. It's not Bloodtooths. It's not Iron Sons. It's Dachappas. So when you use a Violent Fury ability of our friendly Dachappas War Chanter, you can pick 3 different Brute units or Ardboy units in any combination to be affected by the ability instead of 1. So that means that with these 3 War Chanters, you're issuing Violent Fury up to 9 units. With these 3 War Chanters, up to 9 units are going to get +1 damage. And then the Weird Knob Shaman is going to give multiple units +1 to wound. And then your Mega Bosses, because of Mega Bossy, are going to be able to give all-out attack to 4 different units. So you can see how that, combined with a Wa, where you're getting Rend army-wide, it's like you're getting bonuses to hit. In it, like for multiple units, you're getting bonuses to wound for multiple units. You're getting Rend for your whole army, and you're getting bonuses to damage for multiple units as well. So you're just marching units of brutes across the battlefield and buffing groups of them. You're buffing all of these different brute units as you just march across the table. And these points are off too because the brutes are cheaper. I thought I fixed that, but I guess I didn't. But the points work out to be just, so you can see it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 points. So we're at 1990 is where we're at for this list. Iron Sons, that's the countercharge one. So, sorry about that. Dachappas. You bring Dachappas, but you actually bring Dachappas, and you go to town. So it's a very interesting list, very different. I don't know if you own this many brutes. I certainly don't, but I thought it was worth mentioning just because it was a little bit different. So, ooh, that's a great conclusion screen. So, in conclusion, what do I think about this army this season? I think that it's going to be fun. I think that Ironjawz are in a little bit better place than before. I think that the Nullstone Pouch is good, and it's going to help us if we want to be super aggressive with an Alpha Strikey army. I think the point reductions were helpful. Not, like, game-changing at all, but I think that they were helpful in small ways. Brutes going down 10 points is cool, right? What's there really more to say? That makes Dachappa's list a little bit scarier, right? Like, we're saving, like, what did I say, 90 points on our brutes in that list, so it's not nothing. Cool. Well, hopefully this helps. Let me know if you'd like to see more Ironjawz content. Mostly I cover Cruel Boys and Big Wah on my channel, but if you're interested in seeing more Ironjawz content, please let me know in the comments below. Until then, like, subscribe, wah!